The last few weeks have brought significant political developments, pushing the battle for the White House into uncharted territory. Here to share his thoughts and insights on our current political landscape as we approach Election Day is Andrew Boucher, chairman for the Charleston County Republican Party. Andrew, thank you for being here with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
As someone supporting Trump's campaign for re-election, what is his current standing with people?
I've never seen a stock higher. At the convention last week, the atmosphere in the arena was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It was emotional, it was electric, and it was the most unified I've seen in the Republican Party at a convention. And this is my third convention, and I've never seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm. And this convention, there's been strong momentum following this convention. One of the key highlights was his VP pick announcing J.D. Vance. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, J.D. Vance is young. You know, he served in the Marines, he started business, he wrote a bestseller, and he's a fresh face on the national scene with a compelling life story and a record of accomplishment. He's a rising star in the party, and I think he reaches folks who the Republican Party needs to do a better job connecting with.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Nikki Haley announcing her strong endorsement for Trump will influence South Carolina voters?
I do. I think it represented the unification of the party. I don't think there was when you look back, we come through a primary process, and we always do, and we unify, and this was a convention that had almost no dissent. It had no public displays where people were upset at this person or that person. We've seen that in the past on both sides of the aisle. Certainly there's a mess going on the Democrat side as we speak. But I think her adding her voice to the folks who were able to speak to the American people and put their support behind Donald Trump was essential.
Mm-hmm. Joe Biden did step down and he endorsed his VP. How do you think that will impact Trump's campaign and the overall political landscape as we're almost 100 days into Election Day?
Sure. I mean, look, most of the speakers who spoke at the Republican National Convention didn't just mention Joe Biden. They mentioned Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. She is linked to his administration and the failures of his administration. There's plenty of things to attack her on there, to point out to the American people all of the failures. As a senator, she was the single most liberal senator in the United States, more liberal than Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, backing things like the Green New Deal and higher taxes on American families. Kamala Harris is going to have to try to make her case to the American people, and the Republicans simply have to point out her record and the failed record of the Biden administration and what that has meant to the average American family.
Mm-hmm. It was interesting that you said that they weren't just talking about Biden, they were also mentioning her, because when he announced this, it came as a shock. All these past interviews he was doing, he was saying that he had all the intention of running again for a second term. So do you think that this has been something in the works for longer than we've been aware?
I think that people have been talking about it for longer than we've been aware. I think folks who have been paying attention to Biden's public appearances going back to his campaign in 2020 have noticed something and have been concerned about his ability to serve a first term, let alone a second term. So it's not a complete surprise. The way it happened, I think, was surprising. And the way it is, and the developments in the last few days show you that, the fix was in, and the Democrats are turning their back on the millions of people who voted in Democrat primaries around the country to make their voice heard. Mm-hmm. And they're flipping a switch and having a coronation that's happening in the smoke-filled back room as we speak of someone who didn't earn a single delegate and didn't earn a single vote for this nomination. It's disturbing to say.
It's a political earthquake, if you will. How do you think all that's been going on in the recent weeks, how that will impact our local races here in Charleston?
Oh, I think what we've seen on the ground with the Charleston County Republican Party has been an overwhelming outpouring of support in terms of fundraising, in terms of volunteers. Our local candidates have been hearing from folks coming, sending emails, calling them when they're out knocking on doors. The energy amongst Republicans is there in order trying to get involved and make their voices heard. But when we talk to voters who are undecided or maybe in the middle, they're focusing on what does this election mean for my everyday life? And when you think about local politics and local elections, these are the folks who make the most impact on your day-to-day life. The taxes you pay, the schools your kids go to, whether or not your streets are safe. And that's key in Charleston with a sheriff's race that's going to be front and center. And our candidates are hearing it at the doors. They're hearing it from new volunteers and new donors that this election is going to be a referendum up and down the ballot on failed policies versus solutions.
Andrew, thank you for sharing your insights with us. CharlestonRepublicans.org is where you can go for more information. I want to thank you again.
Thank you very much.
We're back in 2 minutes.